In today's video, we're going to be talking about the concept of intolerance of uncertainty and how this psychological principle drives worry and anxiety. Hi everyone. For the most part, we all like to have certainty and a sense of control in our lives. We often feel better when we know what is going on or when we have some control over our life situations. However, for people with anxiety, this desire for control and certainty can be one of the principal factors that drives their anxiety. This is something called intolerance of uncertainty, and it's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. But before I get into that, just a couple of disclaimers to go over. I'm a registered psychologist in the province of British Columbia, Canada, and this video is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute or replacement for advice from your doctor or mental health professional. Now, with those things out of the way, let's start talking about intolerance of uncertainty. Now, you may have heard of the term intolerance of uncertainty, and you may have watched some of my previous videos on this topic. But what is intolerance of uncertainty? How is it defined? At the heart of it, intolerance of uncertainty is a general sense of discomfort or apprehension about the unknown. Another way of thinking about it is that it's a fear of the unknown. And at its core, you can think of intolerance of uncertainty kind of being like a personality variable that falls on a continuum. Now, on one side of the continuum are people who are highly tolerant of uncertainty, while on the other side of the continuum are people who are highly intolerant of uncertainty. So for example, for someone who's highly tolerant of uncertainty, these are the type of people who can fly to Europe on a one-way ticket and a quarter in their pocket, and they see it as a great adventure. They have no idea where they're going to be staying, what they're going to be doing for money, how they're going to get around, how long they're even going to be gone for. But they see it as a great adventure, and they'll just figure it out as they go. These people are highly tolerant of uncertainty. Now, on the other hand, for people who are highly intolerant of uncertainty, if they're going to Europe, they have a clearly laid out itinerary, and they know exactly where they're going to be going, where they're going to be staying, what they're going to be doing every day of their trip. They have backup plans for those activities depending on the weather, and they have a clearly laid out schedule of everything they want to do and exactly how they will do those things. Those people are highly intolerant of uncertainty. So the idea of this is that some people are generally better at tolerating uncertainty than others. And so for people who tend to be less tolerant of uncertainty, what happens is they tend to generate more what-if questions for a particular situation. So my girlfriend hasn't returned a text message from an hour ago. What if she's upset with me? I've got a job interview coming up, and I don't know exactly what they're going to ask me. What if I blow the interview and I end up looking like a fool? If I'm not sure which is the best cell phone to buy, what if I make the wrong choice and end up with an inferior phone? Now notice, all of these what ifs that I'm generating tend not to be about positive things happening. I'm not thinking that my girlfriend hasn't responded because she's trying to come up with the best way of telling me how much she loves me. I'm not thinking about I'm not thinking that I'm going to crush that job interview and that they're going to hire me on the spot because they're so impressed with me. I'm not thinking that I'm going to end up with a cell phone that's going to give me years and years of great service. I'm not thinking about any of those positive things. All I'm thinking about is the negative. Another way of thinking about intolerance of uncertainty is that it's kind of like a psychological allergy. And if you think about how allergies work, suppose I'm allergic to dust and I walk into a room. All it's going to take is for there to be just a little bit of dust in that room, and it's going to cause a big allergic reaction on my part. I may start sneezing, watering eyes, difficulty breathing, puffy face, that sort of thing. Whereas for someone else who isn't allergic to dust, they can walk into the same room and not have any reaction at all. They're exposed to the exact same amount of dust as me, but they're much less reactive to it. Intolerance of uncertainty works very much the same way. For someone who's intolerant of uncertainty, all it takes is for there to be just a little bit of uncertainty in a situation, and it will cause a large emotional reaction, lots of worry and anxiety, thinking about all of the negative outcomes in the situation and all of the negative consequences that are going to arise from those negative outcomes. Whereas for someone who is more tolerant of uncertainty, they're much less reactive in that situation and are much more okay with let's just wait and see approach. Another way I like to think about intolerance of uncertainty is that it's kind of like a lens through which you see the world. And so when faced with an uncertain situation, this intolerance of uncertainty lens tends to bend the person's perception of what's going to happen to focus and think about all of the negative outcomes that are going to occur in the uncertainty. If I'm intolerant of uncertainty, I can recognize from a rational perspective that uncertain situations can lead to neutral or even positive outcomes. But this intolerance of uncertainty lens prevents me from really considering those options. And all I really focus on is everything bad that could happen. And so as a result, intolerance of uncertainty causes a person to constantly scan their world for uncertainty because they view uncertainty as threatening and dangerous. It'd be very similar to, for example, me walking down an unsafe street at night. If I'm going down that street, I'm going to be constantly looking for threat, paying attention to any shadows or dark alleys where someone could jump out of. Where are the well-lit paths? Are there any police around? I'm hyper aware to potential danger or threat in that situation. Same thing happens with intolerance of uncertainty. So if I'm intolerant of uncertainty, I become hypersensitive to any glimmer of uncertainty because that uncertainty will make me feel anxious and worried. However, the irony with this is that the more hypersensitive I am to uncertainty, the more I'm scanning my environment for uncertainty, the more uncertainty I'm going to notice, and therefore, the more anxious I'm going to feel. And as a result, I might start to structure my life or to behave in ways to try and eliminate or reduce all of the uncertainty or as much of the uncertainty in my life as possible, because I view uncertainty as so threatening and potentially dangerous. And so what ends up happening is my world gets smaller and smaller and smaller because I'm trying to avoid all of the uncertainty that seems to engulf the world. And so there are a number of ways in which this intolerance of uncertainty can manifest itself in a person's behavior as they attempt to reduce or eliminate uncertainty in their life. These are things like avoiding doing certain things that you're not sure about, reassurance seeking from people about collecting more information about what they would have done in a particular situation, excessive information gathering in order to try and make the perfect decision, those types of things. And I'm going to be doing a series of videos on each of the various manifestations of intolerance of uncertainty and going into those in a lot more detail and how to manage those. So please keep an eye out for those videos when they come out if you're interested in learning more about intolerance of uncertainty and ways of coping with intolerance of uncertainty. So I hope that gives you a better perspective of what intolerance of uncertainty is and how intolerance of uncertainty drives the worry and anxiety engine. I'd love to hear your comments or thoughts about this, so please leave me some comments in the comments section down below. If you've been enjoying my videos and would like to see more, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell, and you'll be alerted every week when I post a new video. So that's it for today's video on intolerance of uncertainty. As always, thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video, and I will see you in the next one.